During the month of January, JTV News will recap some of the top news stories for the past year, 2012, in our News and Review segment. Here is Sean Rose with the first 2012 review report.
In this first segment, we will bring you highlights of some top stories making the news in the past year, focusing on the territory's finances and the tourism sectors. Our short journey down memory lane begins with a look at financially related news items. Financial Secretary Neil Smith said in 2012 that the local financial services industry is no longer growing at a phenomenal rate as in the past, although revenue for 2012 was projected to be approximately $180 million. Neil Smith said the territory's crucial economic pillar has been leveling off over the past 10 years, but the industry remains fairly robust.
But still, it is a concern that a territory should be so vulnerable, right, to things that are beyond its control.
Smith argued that the BVI remains ahead of its competitors because financiers still see it as a top destination for business. Pointing to the need of a contingency plan if the sector shrinks by another 10%, Smith said the financial protocols signed between the UK and the BVI will help mitigate that risk. The government of the Virgin Islands signed the protocols for effective financial management with the UK government on April 23, 2012. The agreement allows the UK to understand how government is managing the territory's finances while freeing the BVI from having to get approval from London for its budget.
It was true that the Virgin Islands would have been required to get permission for the budgets before they were presented in the House, but we were able to show the United Kingdom that wouldn't be necessary.
The financial protocols require the enactment of the Public Finance Management Act and building the reserve fund to approximately $65 million by the year 2015. However, 3rd District Representative Julian Fraser, in addition to calling for a review of the signing of the protocols, challenged the government's commitment to build a reserve fund, arguing that the money should be spent to create jobs and stimulating the local economy instead. Also in 2012, Premier and Tourism Minister Dr. Orlando Smith proposed that developmental projects such as the cruise ship pier and the Tibet-Letsam Airport expansion would stimulate the economy, provide employment, and improve the tourism product. In his address to mark government's first 100 days in office, Premier Smith highlighted steps to support small businesses, installation of a new tourist board, infrastructural development, and anti-crime measures among his accomplishments.
We want to keep money circulating in this economy, and this means providing an enabling environment that allows the private sector to be a more efficient and responsive vehicle to the needs of this economy.
Early in 2012, Premier and Finance Minister Dr. Orlando Smith presented his government's 2012 $287 million budget under the theme, Austerity Today Secures Economic Recovery Tomorrow. Also in the year under review, Governor Boyd McCleary noted the continuation of legislative reform in keeping with ever-changing international standards when he delivered the throne speech outlining government's legislative program for the second session of the House of Assembly.
The amendments to the Public Finance Management Act that are now before this Honourable House strengthen the current Act and provide minimal acceptable standards of governance, more transparent and responsible fiscal management, and higher accountability to the people of this territory.
The governor spoke of amendments to outdated legislations to comply with the Virgin Islands Constitution Order 2007. He listed alternative energy as a priority for government and further alluded to modernizing the electricity ordinance to allow for changes such as interconnecting renewable energy alternatives onto the electricity grid. Premier Dr. Orlando Smith delivered the 2013 budget address during the November 15, 2012 sitting of the House of Assembly with rolling plans for the next 3 years up to 2015 titled The Path Towards Economic Growth. The Premier said the 3-year rolling budget is expected to allow for better management and accountability in government.
The draft budget is for the first time in the history of this territory being done over a rolling 3-year period, unlike the year-to-year budgets we had previously.
According to the Premier, operating revenue for 2013 is expected to be in the region of $298 million, with operating expenditure at $252 million. Highlighting how government will continue on the road to fiscal recovery, the Finance Minister in 2012 listed revenue-generating measures that include increased trade license fees, a new work permit structure, and aggressive approach in the collection of taxes and fees. The budget was later approved during the December 18, 2012 second sitting of the House of Assembly with some amendments. And finally, in our review of top finance-related news, Deputy Premier Dr. Pickering announced plans to establish the fishing industry as the third economic pillar of the Virgin Islands economy when he addressed the House of Assembly on December 17, 2012.
I think it's the 17th of January, in which we are going to bring all the fishermen together to discuss all the relevant issues and to put things in perspective and to establish the Fishing Advisory Board and all the things that are necessary to make sure that the next step that we need to take to establish the fishing industry as the third economic pillar of this country is well on its way. So this ain't just talk.
Let's now take a look at some of the top tourism stories making the news in 2012. Premier Dr. Orlando Smith called the January 2012 opening of Costa Smeralda in North Sound, Virgin Gorda, a giant step forward for BVI tourism, when His Highness the Aga Khan partnered with Oil Nut Bay developer David Johnson to create the first YCCS presence outside Italy.
Some would say this puts us down on the cutting edge of the world tourism market.
Another access route for visitors to the territory came in 2012 when Gun Creek Virgin Gorda was made an official port of entry in May to the satisfaction of residents and tourism partners. Also in 2012, BVI Tourist Board Chairman Russell Harrigan expressed his support for the introduction of jet skis in the territory, suggesting that the water-based activity could be another boost to BVI tourism.
I know that the minister has been talking aggressively about doing something at Brandywine Bay, making that beach an activities beach, particularly for visitors on the cruise side. And if that's an activities beach, I don't know what the thinking is at the end of the day, but can jet skiing be part of that area? I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be.
The BVI's Melanie Amaro, the first US X Factor winner, moved from singing duets with R. Kelly to performing with Sir Elton John in 2012. Amaro claimed BVI as her home throughout the X Factor competition and vowed to focus on marketing the territory. The BVI star also performed at the 2012 Music Festival in Cane Garden Bay. In the year under review, Travel the Nation's Yacht Hop, a BVI Charter Yacht Society cuisine event, saw yacht owners experiencing culture through cuisine when they showcased their culinary skills in stunning, creative, and fun-filled presentations aboard their respective yachts. Also in 2012, Natasha Chalwell went on record to define the BVI tourism product as much more than sun, sea, and sand.
Did they welcome you? Did they use your name? Did they offer you a nice refreshment because you just traveled, for hours from who knows where in the States, and you had that whole transition through St. Thomas, and you just drove down the roads and dealt with all the potholes. So all of these things are part of the product.
The BVI Tourist Board was challenged to increase tourist arrivals by 10% in 2012 by Premier and Tourism Minister Dr. Orlando Smith, and the Tourist Board responded with a plan of action. Chairman Russell Harrigan said they will aim to attract 228 visitors each month, expanding sales in North America, investing in new markets, developing a global BVI brand, and increasing social media activity as part of the strategic plan. Business owners complained about irregular ferry services between St. Thomas and the Virgin Islands in the year under review. This led to the start of meetings involving government and ferry operators aimed at remedying the problem.
The Premier and myself, along with some of our team from the Port Authority, have been meeting with them. We're discussing some of the challenges, we're discussing some options.
No decision has been made to date, but those discussions are still ongoing. Top tourism news in 2012 closed off the year with the hosting of the stand-up tour final to secure further global promotion for the BVI through the live broadcast of the event.
The new world stand-up paddleboard surfing champion.
That wraps up this JTV News 2012 News in Review segment. I am Sean Rose.
In the next 2012 review, Sean Rose will recap various aspects of government plans, projects and policies, as well as other matters of interest to the Virgin Islands community.